Naya. All right, we are live.
Okay, we are live, and thank you to the people that are joining here, both of you. So we do these on a weekly basis. Normally, we've done these in the morning, but we're switching it up. We're going to do it in the afternoon and see how it goes. But the topics here range from a lot of things. We talk about the industry, how it's evolved, how we feel we can position ourselves to be prepared for what's coming, whether that be some sort of a refi wave or a mini wave, or even if rates stay where they are right now and their refis don't come for a little while, which is a real scenario, right? So broad topics. If you're listening, you have something you want to discuss or items you want to share, feel free to share and chat in the chat, and we'll be happy to share our thoughts. But today, I'd like to kick it off. We have a number of topics, but I'd like to kick it off with the idea that the industry has changed, and it's not changed over the last 2 years just because volumes have dropped. The industry has changed, evolved because interest rates have gone up. So what that means is I believe the industry has moved more to a platform model. So think about Amazon. Amazon doesn't actually buy or sell products. They're the connector between buyers and sellers. Here, we're a platform for a loan officer to bring in their business, to bring in their personal brand, and we provide the licensing, the legal, contracts, the payroll, HR, and the loan officer continues to fund their business and fund loans and operate under our platform. So what that does, though, the correct platforms provide a better price for our clients, provide a more aggressive compensation plan for our loan officers, and give the support and the tools needed for you to grow. Do you think that's fair, Craig? Is that fair?
I think that's a very fair assessment. I feel like, in this industry, now that rates, we've experienced that for the last 18, 24 months, higher interest rates, that, companies are having to adjust their profit margins to expenses. And because of that, they're major course corrections. It's not like, shave a little bit off there. It's major adjustments. And as such, the companies that have not been able to adjust, they're the ones hurting really bad right now. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. I'd say at least the next 6 months, we're going to see this. And, one of the things that we've done here is we've positioned our company very well in the fact that we have low overhead and we have aggressive interest rates and tons of products that we can use to service our clients. And I think when you position a company in a manner where you have lower interest rates, less overhead, you can still deliver that consistent 5-star experience. You're in that position to thrive for the future. And it doesn't matter what market we're in because we have everything structured correctly.
Yeah, and I think the overhead is the key there. I'm talking to, look at a lot of our larger competitors and their overall cost structure of all the real estate they have all over the country, the layers of management, the department upon department, and support system on top of support system. Now, support systems are good, but what I see in a lot of our larger competitors, if they have 10 different support systems or 10 different value propositions, but the average LO uses 3 of them, the 3 are great, but you're paying for all 10. So that just adds basis points onto the corporate margin, and that's why their pricing is off in so many cases. I'm doing pricing calls 2 to 4 per day, every day, with competitors that are thinking about making a move, and it's not uncommon to see a variance of 70 to 150 basis points, where we're 70 to 150 basis points better. Some cases, it's been even higher. So now it's just a matter of time, I think, before the rest of the industry catches on and follows a trend of people moving from the big retail shops to the wholesale side of the channel. Jesse made a great point last week. It's not for everybody, but I think for a lot of people that are productive and doing volume right now, it makes a ton of sense.
Right. So let's dig into the tech and support staff. We
Yeah.
got Kelly on and we got Cody on, and one of the biggest things that retail talks about is the broker channel doesn't have a lot of tech and support. I mean, Kelly, you've been with us since 21, and you've been working with me since 2004. So
too long.
I think
you made him pull all his hair out.
yes, that's what I was going to go to. Cody. But Kelly, what has your experience been here when it comes to the support and technology that you have available to help service your clients and relationships with your referral partners?
So this company has been more support than I could have ever imagined coming into the mortgage business. I was in the mortgage business back in 2005 and working for a different company. And it was literally out on your own, no support, no anything, go door knocking and try to find people that want to get a mortgage or refinance. Coming on here, I've had nothing but help in ways to grow my business, ways to support my clients, and to just help them have the best experience possible. As far as technology, I'm not a high tech person. So also I've had the training that I've needed to be able to run my CRMs, to be able to manage all my clients and all my referral partners and stuff, to just be able to keep in contact. It's just been a fantastic experience.
What about you, Cody?
So I would say, from a technology and support standpoint, one of the biggest things that worried me switching from retail to the broker model a few months ago was the access, the access to underwriters like I had before and things like that. And we had in-house underwriters where I was previously. And currently, even though they're not here in my home office, I have more access to underwriters and support than I did when they were actually in my office. More availability, more willingness to work with me. I think one of the biggest things is, when you think from a standpoint of, willingness to help, the underwriter at a retail model is paid and employed by your company. So they're working to protect the company, and that's all that they're doing to protect. You go and look at an underwriter that works for one of the lenders that we, are signed up with. There might be, let's say we have 10 different investors. All of those underwriters in some capacity or another have an incentive to be more helpful, to help, because if they're not helpful, we just won't send them business.
Right.
And so they're more willing to help. They're more willing to answer the phone at 5:30 or, whatever the case may be, or help you work through files rather than just a yes or no, and over condition for things. So that's one of the biggest things I've found when it comes to support, is that I actually have more on the broker side than I did in retail.
And let's talk about support some more. What are some of the things that you're able to do on the broker channel, or things that you're doing right now to help support your referral partners and helping them add value to their business as well? Because I think that that's very important when it comes to loan officers, is being able to add value and help them, create teammates and partnerships where we're all working together to accomplish the same goals. I mean, what are some of the things that you're doing to help your teammates?
I mean, I'll give you an example that I just had right before we got on this call. Is I had a client that essentially paid cash for a house and decided to remodel it. And the agent called me and was like, "Hey, they're in a pickle because they basically tore the house down. Now they're out of money. What do I do?" And you can't do a cash out refinance on it. You can't. And when you work
because it's mid construction, right?
Right. It's down to the studs. And so, if you work in a retail model, your only option is to send it to some, no offense, but you guys know I don't really care about offending people, but you got to send it to some retail banker downstairs that works 4.5 hours a day and hope that they can do a home equity line of credit on it, maybe. And that's really the only option you have in retail, or try to do a construction loan or one-time construction close, whatever you want to call it. And now I just registered a HELOC, and it'll be like a 10-day home equity line of credit. I get to kind of have the hand in setting it up, making sure it happens. and I help kind of save that realtor's client by doing that. You can't do that in the retail model. That's one thing. And then I would say the next thing is when you work for a retail company, the DSCR loans, it is like you don't want to touch them because they're a disaster. And then I noticed here and just watching a few teammates do them, they're actually way easier than what they're led on to believe at most retail companies.
And DSCR is a hot topic right now. Like everyone's pushing the DSCR programs, which
absolutely is. Do you remember? So Craig 2.0 brought up a couple of deals where he wanted to do a DSCR loan with only 15% down. And Craig 1.0 and I looked at each other saying, yeah, that doesn't exist. And he found the investor. And within a few days, we signed up the investor. And within 60 days, he's closed 2 deals with that investor under that program, DSCR loans with 15% down. And so that's the kind of flexibility I think that we get in the wholesale side, is to be able to look for these different opportunities and being able to add them very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Hey, Kelly, what are some of the things that you're doing in Indianapolis right now to help your agents and referral partners as far as helping them build their business?
Just providing them the support that they need. If we're having open houses, helping them with any flyers that they might need, helping their clients that are first-time home buyers. I deal with a lot of first-time home buyers, and just helping them understand the whole process by walking them through our home buyer meeting and kind of explaining to them how everything works, so that they have a little bit of knowledge of it up front. The realtors and the referral partners all really like that, because it's helping educate them on what they're getting into, and helps spark the right questions for them to ask all of us, so that they're going in knowledgeable and knowing what they're doing, and that it's a good choice for them.
So wait a minute, you just don't generate organic, blanket pre-approval letters? Like you actually take time to educate your clients? That's weird.
I have a famous line that I have for most of my first-time home buyers, and that's, I was 23 years old when I bought my first house. I had no idea what I was doing, and I just signed any line that anybody told me to sign because I didn't know what I was doing. I got done. I was scared to death through the whole process. I had my dad with me. He helped, but I didn't know what I was personally doing. And so that's the one thing I tell my clients: I will never let that happen to you. I'm going to be as transparent as I can, because I don't want you to ever not know what you just got into. I also want they are very, very comfortable with everything, and that they know the right questions to ask for that reason.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to frame it. And I know that you spend a ton of time with your clients, because it's evidenced in the reviews. I mean, your 5-star reviews are off the charts. So clearly you're spending a lot of time with people and treating them the right way.
Thank you. Yeah, I do my best. It's one thing that I've always said I would do, is just be true to my clients and make sure that I'm clear with them. I used to sell loans that were a heck of a lot higher interest rates than what we're at right now, when I was in the personal finance business, and selling loans at 36%, even second mortgages at 18%. And, just being honest and upfront of what we're doing here is the easiest way to make sure you're making everybody happy.
Yeah, I think always putting the client first is most important.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice job. So Cody, something I know you do really well is in the digital media space. You get a lot of attention on social media. I know you do workshops with your realtor partners, and you actually get leads on social media. So you send me screenshots on your phone from people that say, hey, I'd like to buy a home this weekend. It's actually generating leads and interest from realtor partners. So tell me a little bit about that process and how you plan to leverage that into 2024, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So I think the first misconception when it comes to social media is the fact that people think that you just get organic leads from it. And that is not at all what it is. So I always reference, anytime I look at any of my marketing stuff, I like to think of how I either like to be marketed to or contacted. The things that I hate are email I don't want somebody calling me in the middle of the workday, just asking me how life is going. Like and I think in some capacity or another, most people would be somewhat annoyed if somebody just like called you in the middle of the day while you're busy and just wanted to talk shop for an hour. You know what I mean? So that it's not that I still don't call my database and do all those things, but I use social media as to essentially drip on my database, because email is at this point, in society, email is so overused, and everybody's got drip campaigns and marketing campaigns, and you just get lost in the noise. And when it comes to social media, that is how I stay in touch with my database. I mean, I'm 30, or about to turn 30 in a couple of weeks. So most of my database is on social. They're not in their emails. Like I think the last time I opened my personal email, it's probably been 3 weeks, to be honest. Unless it's my work email, I don't look at it. And so I know that I'm not going to get many people from that. And so I have to use that social media piece to stay in front of my clients. And the people that will message me, it is almost never about a mortgage related topic. Like I like to think of social media as, for anybody that doesn't know, there's, your posts and your reels, and then there's your stories that you post.
Yep.
And your posts and your reels are I think of it like a tent, or to bring people into the tent. Those are people that are not in your circle or not in your database. Those reels and stuff bring people there. Your stories let people get to know you. Like people only want to buy from someone they know, like, and trust. Mm-hmm. And if you have just like a plain bland company page that has some loan information on there, like that doesn't get anybody excited to work with you unless they feel like, they know you. And so like most of the time when I get people that are like, hey, we're thinking about buying a house, it was something stupid about me, going off about date the rate, marry the house loan officers, just being silly, just being myself, you know what I mean? But it's normally, that's where I get a lot of the traction on there, is that. And so I'm helping realtors, try to learn that, have everything as a personal brand instead of having 2 separate Instagram accounts or 2 separate Facebook accounts. Like if you think of the last time that you went and friended someone or followed someone on social media, did you follow the company or did you follow the person?
The person.
Right.
The person.
Because, especially in our businesses, we try to get more of a consumer direct model. You have to catch people earlier in the process, because historically everybody's gone to the realtor first, and then the realtor sends them to the lender. And as we try to convert into this more consumer direct space, we have to get to them earlier in the process. So like one thing I noticed with social is beforehand, when people would, talk to me about buying a house, it was usually they were ready to get pre-approved that day. Now they swipe up on my Instagram story, and they're like, hey, we're thinking about moving to Denver here in the next 6 months. Just because it's an easy way for them to contact me, I'm starting to get them way earlier in the process and retain those clients a lot more because of that.
I love it. That's brilliant. You do a great job with that. So, all right. So while we're talking about Cody's social media presence, I'd love to hear more about that post that you made a couple of weeks ago. It was called Asses and Elbows, and you got a ton of engagement. And I think the reason I even bring this up is because I think our whole industry, and probably real estate too, is struggling with this exact thing. Like, we're busy, but we're only closing a deal a quarter. So where's the disconnect? And I think your post touched on it perfectly, because we're busy, but are we busy doing the right stuff? If we're actually busy and doing the right money-making activities, the deals should follow more than once a quarter, right? So
yep.
Tell me that story, first of all, about how you came up with that content, and then, sort of what your aha moment was.
So every morning I try to I have a little journal kind of sits on my desk, and I try to just write some thoughts every morning before I get started. Just like a gratitude journal, and just some things that are going in my head, because there's a lot going on up there. And so the Asses and Elbows post came from, I was just thinking about all the noise and all the racket in our industry. And I was reflecting on how I'm gonna say pessimistic I had been, about the market, and I had let that stuff seep in, let the media seep in, let the news seep in, and I could tell that it was starting to affect my energy. And like one of the things that I'm really trying hard to work on for 2024 is really protecting my energy. And I remembered my dad used to build houses growing up. And so I remember and this is the only part I really remember from the whole thing is why it's so funny. I was at a job site with him. I was probably like 12, 13 years old. And I remember walking through this house. I used to go to the job sites with my dad, and I heard this roofer say, "Asses and elbows, boys, asses and elbows. Let's go." And I'm like, what does that mean? And later on in life, I realized it meant, hey, like less messing around, less looking at other people, less looking around, and more work. Just dig your head down and work. And I thought about that in the mortgage space, especially. I know Craig can relate to the ADHD piece of it. Like there's so many things you want to do. There's so many things you want to implement. And another one I'm getting ready to post that I'll kind of give you an insight on is talks about the real estate. Real estate has a constipation problem. And what I mean by that is
your analogies are always
we consume and consume and consume, and we never put anything out. Right. So we go to these seminars, we go to these trainings, we do all these things, but we never do any of it.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So that's where I came up with that concept. And just, I think, especially right now, there's so much negativity and volatility in the market. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And at the end of the day, like if you sit down and you really get down to the bare bones of everything, like one of the things I was scared of was, what if I'm telling people to buy a house and it's not actually a good time to buy a house? And I think that's in the back of a lot of loan officers' minds currently. And I really had to sit down with myself and have the conversation of, okay, if I block all of this stuff out, like what is the worst thing that can happen? Right? What is the worst thing that could possibly happen if that were the case? And as I studied it more, I don't think it's the case, but at the end of the day, rents have never gone down during any type of pullback in the housing market ever in history. So the rents aren't going down. Rates probably aren't coming much below 6% for the most part, probably not for a while. And so at the end of the day, if their house value goes to, if it goes down, let's say it goes down 20%, they're still in a fixed cost environment that is not going to increase like rent. And at the end of the day, if worse comes to worse, they have to live in the house or keep it for a little while. That's it. It's not like a stock where you can just go buy a bunch of it and then the company just files bankruptcy and disappears and you have nothing.
Yep.
So
and I think that's something that the real estate bears really miss is when they're talking negative about real estate has never gone down. When looking at it as a long view, real estate has never gone down. There was that blip, and it's more than a blip. I shouldn't call it a blip, but 2008, obviously real estate values went down. But if you look at housing values from 06 to 2012 or 06 to now, like it's still gone up in value. And as long as people could afford the monthly payment, it was fine.
Yep, exactly. Well, it's like let's say you bought a house and the payment's $2,000 a month and the value went to zero. Well, the worst thing that can happen is that, and if you decide that you have to move or buy something different, you rent it out for $2,000 a month. And when the mortgage is paid off, then guess what?
Brilliant.
Then you have $2,000 a month in income coming in. That's if it goes to zero and you can't do anything with it. That's the worst thing that can possibly happen.
Yep.
So when you're talking about markets and all these things, and especially in the stock market, like valuations and all this stuff that I get way over consumed with, real estate always has been and always will be the safest bet. And so I just had to learn to block out the noise, and that's where I came with the asses and elbows thing. Is now I have it taped on the bottom of my computer monitor. It just says asses and elbows.
One thing I would like to chime in on that is, when we talk to a lot of loan officers, there's a difference between working and being busy.
Yes.
There's a huge difference. And I feel like people do things just to feel busy but they're not really doing what's called money-making activities in my mind. You know, you have to put in the work if you want to grow a business, which then goes back to the whole, you know, one of the reasons why I enjoy working here is my business has been built on organic relationships, which means that you have to put in the work to build those relationships. And I think, you know, Kelly, going back to you, you know, when you first started here, it's always been 100% organic for you. And because of the relationships and everything like that, that you have cultivated over the years. I mean, what would you say is one of the key components to helping you build those relationships?
You know, I guess I really don't know how to answer the question. You know, just being genuine and being honest with everybody. I think that the more transparent you are, you're going to build better relationships because people are going to trust you more. Sorry, my camera's a little blurry and I'm not sure why. Oh, there we go.
She's back.
I must have, you know, just trying to help you guys deal with looking at me. But no, just honestly, just, you know, just building the relationships comes naturally to me because I like to talk to people. So it's pretty easy if I can get somebody to talk to me that, you know, we can start to develop a relationship, and then I just work on building the trust and, like I said, by being transparent and upfront and honest with everybody.
Would you say that our process is, you know, our file flow and the way that we do things has helped you build those relationships?
So when I first started here and you sent me this process, I looked at it and I said, what in the world is this? And then as we started following this process, it was absolutely instrumental in building these relationships and in making things flow smoother, helping me understand how to manage files and to make sure that I'm connecting with all parties that are involved, and doing it on a consistent basis with everybody that I talk to. It was something a little intimidating to look at, but once we started doing it, we really started, you know, you taught me how to implement it all. It made big differences in the way people responded. You know, it helped people not want to go to, you know, you're developing this relationship by spending all this time with them on Zoom meeting, or, you know, I came in during COVID, so I got to do almost everything was virtual for me for a long time. But, you know, just building those relationships because they know you were really, really dedicating a lot of time to helping educate them, like we talked about, and to just really make sure that they understood what they were doing. And that process is what helped me remain consistent, as well as help me develop a lot of those relationships.
So to recap, you would say that our process is very consistent from start to finish. It's very high touch. And most importantly, because of the consistency, the high touch and communication, you know, the transparency in the way that we do things, the education that we provide to our clients has not only helped you build these relationships, but it has also helped you with your 5-star reviews.
Absolutely.
Cody, is there, oh, go ahead.
And even in a tough market like we're in right now, I can tell you that a majority of my business I'm doing right now is from people that I talked to 2 years ago when I came on board 2.5 years ago. It's crazy. I'm seeing if they're just like, they've either already, this is their second or third loan with me, or they've referred friends or family, or they just decided not to buy at the time because they thought the 3% rate was too high, maybe, but now they're coming back because they realize that that's not going to come back. I don't know, but you know, that's where a lot of my business is coming from when I was really consistent with that, and was really having a lot of different conversations because rates were low, there was a lot more activity. So those relationships that I built back then are the ones that are bringing me a lot of what I've got going on right now.
It's awesome. Cody, what would you add?
I would say, so I don't even know if you guys know this, but my first basically 2 years in the business, I was a processor. That's where I started in the business. For a lady that's, Scotsman Guide, top 100, like she's like 630 units a year, all organic, doesn't pay a penny for leads. Like, I mean, she's a monster. And I always go and reference back like her process and what I learned during that time. Cause I processed for another person after her that was an absolute crap show. Like horrible. And I go back and I look and I think about, just like the communication, the process, all of those things, all the files were the same. There were like this one loan officer didn't have worse files than she did. It was just that the process was this way every single time. And there was never any surprises that came up. Like we were never shocked by anything. There were never, very, very obviously things happened, but there were very rarely any like problems the day before closing or anything like that, just because of the process was dialed in. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the biggest problems, especially in mortgage, and I think why like Kelly's been so successful for, a certain period of time, from a longevity standpoint, is because one of the biggest issues that I see when it comes to loan officers is that there's too many people hiring kids and stuff that are good at sales, like are just smooth talkers. Mm-hmm. And typically those people are not very organized.
What do you mean?
Like if you go look at anybody from, that's been in the business for a long time and has a good business, typically they're not those people. Typically they're like Kelly just said, really authentic human beings. Like it doesn't matter what it is. They're just going to pick up the phone, call you and tell you the truth. That's just that. And that's all anybody could ever ask for. And I think everybody gets lost in the weeds of the sales piece of it. And I actually think it takes a really special kind of person to be a loan officer. You have to have some like intelligence and be able to have like an intellectual conversation, but also be outgoing enough to go sell a little bit and talk to people. An extroverted introvert is what it takes to be a good loan officer. Mm-hmm. The extroverts never make it in the business. And
it's the rare combination of somebody that's good at building rapport and mm-hmm. keeping things organized and tight, right? Remembering a lot of guidelines and changes of process, but also being able to talk to people and build rapport.
Yep. The really authentic people always win.
I would like to add to that. Both of you have said it, consistency. You have to have a consistent process, but you also have to have really good teammates that understand the process and are structured enough to help you get that files from point A to point B as fast as possible. I mean, we average 12.7 business days as a company from application to clear to close. And I know, recently we've been turning those in 5 days, 7 days, 9 days. And so that's been really good. And I think a lot of that has to do with the loan officers investing time in themselves to understand the products, to understand the guidelines, but also to understand the process. And when you invest in yourself, you're actually going to speed up the process of that file because you're able to put those files together super tight. And because of that, that helps, transition that into underwriting and into clear to close and then into closing. I think I would rather take 1 or 2 more days up front to make sure that file is super tight than to have a lot of conditions or issues later on in the process, especially when you're getting down to that closing date.
Yep.
So there's been some different loan officers that we've had, some in the past, but that you could tell a big difference. If the organization wasn't there, the consistency wasn't there, their files were the ones that were taking longer, and that they were getting more frustrated with the process as well. And this is something that Craig really drove into my head from day one, was how tight files up front is the most important part. Get what you need, everything that you could ever think you'd need up front. It doesn't hurt to ask for too much. It doesn't mean we're going to submit it. At least the client will have everything we need, and we can just really have a smooth transition, and it's going to help everybody in the long run. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the education too, is we're just letting the client know, here's where we're going to be really busy with what we're going to need from you. this is why I'm asking for all this, so that you don't have to have this go on through your whole process of, we need this now we need this, now we need this. It's like, we're going to be tight up front so that we can make it a simplified process for the clients as well.
Yep. That goes back to like literally what I was saying a minute ago about the authenticity piece, like just picking up the phone, calling and telling people the truth, no matter what it is. You know, like
There's
when
our conversations too.
yeah, it's
We
like,
have to have
hey,
them.
I'm going to ask you for all of this, and I may not need all of it, but I would rather get it now than to wait a week before closing while you got everything packed in moving boxes and make you go dig back through all of your crap again. That's the last thing you want to be doing.
Right.
Is running around trying to dig through boxes to find, you know, whatever it is I'm asking for. Like, I would rather have more now, and there's less things that are, you know, the way lower possibility that something's going to go wrong if I just get all this right now. Then you're good. Then you're done. And it's a
you
sales.
also. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, just like a lot of like really extroverted salespeople just want to be a yes man of I'm gonna make it super easy. I'm not gonna ask them for anything right now. And then you have 37 conditions coming out of underwriting. No, thank you.
Overpromise, underdeliver.
Every time.
You know, one of the things I'm really proud of both of you about is being a solutions-based lender. You guys don't ghost on people if you run into issues. You pick up the damn phone, you call them, you say, here's what's going on, here's how we're handling it, and this is the solution for it. And I love the fact that you guys operate very proactively when it comes to that, because there's a ton of loan officers who they don't do that. And then it causes the ripple effect. Now the client's stressed, the agents are stressed, sometimes the attorneys are stressed, you know, the sellers are stressed because maybe they're selling their house, and you know, it's just that domino chain. But I love the fact that here, if there's ever an issue, we pick up the phone, we get it addressed as soon as we possibly can, and we're solutions based. And proactivity is better than reactivity.
And communication is key with all of it, for sure. Because
And
I ran into issues. If I have a realtor that asks, and how long have you known about this? It's always within the hour. It wasn't, I didn't know about this for days that I was sitting on it. I just found out, and I'm telling you right now.
Yep.
That's
Yep,
great.
absolutely.
That's the
And
key.
one thing I would like to say, you know, just about MFG in general that I've noticed is, I'm not sure if this is a controversial phrase to use or not, but I don't care. Is
That's the danger of going live with Cody.
That's right. you guys knew the risk you took before you put me on here.
We did. We knew.
It's 50-50, right, Brian?
We knew it was a calculated risk. But there's no office terrorism here, is one thing that I've noticed. There are no office terrorists. Every company I've ever been at, there's been office terrorists. You know, the person that we were just talking about that doesn't follow any of the rules, doesn't do anything they're supposed to do. And then the moment that they have a file go wrong, they want everybody to drop what they're doing and help them fix their issue. And that is one thing that I've noticed that there's none of here. It's all like everybody's helping everybody. And there's no, you know, for the most part, there's no one person that's like, you know, drop everything and help me. Everybody's literally helping everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I just talked to a loan officer. She texted me. I'm like, I'm on MFG Live right now. Can you go talk to so-and-so? He should be able to help you out.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's what I mean by having great teammates, no donkeys, and everybody is really trying to help each other grow their business. And I feel like that's part of, you know, the way that we have built this company from the ground up is hiring the right people, good people who are great teammates.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't only hurt support staff when that happens. It also hurts the people that do the things they're supposed to do, you know, because guess what they're having to do when they're dropping everything they're doing to help that office terrorist? Well, they're putting your stuff on the back burner.
Yep.
So it hurts and that's the most annoying thing in the world is when you do all the things you're supposed to do and then get put on the back burner. And I've noticed there's none of that here.
We do our best to the best of our ability, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Team makes all the difference.
It does.
All right. Cody, you always have an opinion. What are your thoughts on credit reports increasing in 2024?
If you want me to be honest, I haven't.
Of course I want you.
Everybody that's said anything about it, I'm like, find something better to talk about. Good Lord. Like, We can talk about groceries going up 200%, but a $10 difference in credit reports, it's not that big. It's not going to change the industry. There's not a whole lot we can do about it. It's kind of the asses and elbows thing. It's roll with the punches. Everything costs more. Get back to work. There's very little that I can do to control that. And we all need to focus on controlling the controllables and all the other stuff. We can have an opinion on it, but I'm not going to spend 20, 30 minutes of my day writing a Facebook post and brokers are better about it to go ask everybody what their thoughts are. What the hell are we all going to do about it?
And post it anonymously while you're at
it.
What
the hell are y'all going to do about it? I guess you can go start your own credit reporting company, but good luck. But most 99.9% of them ain't going to do anything but gripe and complain. And I'm not going to subject myself to that. That's the asses and elbows thing. It's letting the noise get in your head. So to me, it's not that big a deal.
And you're 100% correct with your answer. That's why I asked it, because so many people it gets back to the working versus being busy, right? They get distracted on, oh my God, the credit report is going from $45 to $52.50. And it's a detriment. It creates this entire pause on how they can do their business because they're thinking about, how do I save this client $7.50 or whatever it is. And
I've literally seen people on that. I go there just almost for entertainment sometimes. And I've seen people we're going to start charging people up front for credit reports. I think it's what we're going to start doing. I'm like, good luck with that. I think that's horrible business in my opinion. There's a cost to doing business, and anything that you do, you're not going to eliminate overhead.
Right.
You're not going to have zero overhead. Now, if they were to go to $400 a piece, then we can have a conversation about it. But it's whether they increase $10-15, that's not going to change anybody's life or business, I don't think.
100%. Well, I don't have any more questions for today. Brian, do you?
No, I think we covered some good topics here. This was fun. Let's do it again. And thanks to Kelly and Cody for jumping in and sharing your thoughts. Great to hear from you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
You guys have a great Friday.
Bye, everybody.
All right, you too.